My presentation is about how to make the most of MediaWiki. A short introduction about myself. My name is Strack van Schijndel. I am a long-time MediaWiki user since 2006. I founded Wikibase Solutions in 2012, and last year, when I left Wikibase Solutions, I founded Juggel, and Juggel has my full focus now. And the focus of Juggel is about delivering business solutions with MediaWiki. That hasn't changed, I would say, since 2012. Back then, I felt like a bit like a stranger in the knowledge management conference of MediaWiki. My focus has always been on supporting primary processes of companies. But let's focus today on what I think are 4 MediaWiki treasures. I'm very fond of them. At Juggel, we use them all. This is not a presentation about Juggel, about the Juggel platform. I will show examples from Juggel, but if you want to know the full details and capabilities of Juggel, you have to contact me, and I can, of course, organize a demo. The four treasures are skinning the new MediaWiki way, using JSON to store structured data, and the view framework for user interfaces and the codex components. So I wanted to do a small survey, but didn't know how, so I invented the questions myself and asked ChatGPT to come up with some answers. So the questions are human and the response is GPT generated. But I think it should be, I think it might be a bit optimistic. But I think that everybody agrees that it's important to use core technology and proven extensions. So the question is, who uses slots other than main for storage of structured data? I think 75% is optimistic. Who uses Mustache for building skins? That should be okay. MediaWiki and Codex. And in the next column, we have the importance. So I think that says it right. So let's start with the skins. What is important in a skin, at least for us? It's important to make things look good, easy, reusable components, data and presentation separated. I love it. I love the new way of building skins in MediaWiki. This is a simple page in the Juggel platform, but what you can see is that it has different components. You have the header, you have the subheader, you have the main content, which is, of course, the main slot. You have a sub-content. So there's lots of places you can put stuff and style them. I'm going to show you this because what I want to say with this is how easy it is to assemble your own skin. This is the main template. So what you see here is how the header, the tool center, the subheader, the nav sidebar, etc. All the components that are in the Juggel skin are defined. And there are really only a few ways to build or fill a component. That is through the MediaWiki, let's say the OpenCSP way, with system messages. So that means that you define the content of that component entirely in the wiki. And also using sub-templates. Here you can see this is probably more of interest for you when you have a look at the presentation afterwards. But this is it. This is everything that this is all the components, and you see data stuff, you see variables, but these are very well documented. So it's very easy. And one of the things that I really love about the new skin is the way data and presentation is separated. And one of the things that I love is how you can handle the table of contents. The table of contents used to be really not nice. It was always there or not. You weren't able to do anything about it. But now it's you get the data of the table of contents. You put it in a component. Here I'll go back, and here you can see where it is. It's in the nav sidebar. It's a fixed component, the data table of contents. You get the data, and you put the data in the table of contents template. So it's really very easy. So that's about using skins. Let's talk about slots with JSON. JSON is very interesting, and you can make data structured and interoperable. So the ability to store JSON on a page is very, very interesting. We use at Juggel four slots. Obviously, everybody uses the main slot, but we use some additional slots, which is, by the way, the same as OpenCSP does, and that's where the slot names come from. The base props, the class props, and the data. And this means that you can put structured data in, you can organize it the way you want. And the way that I want to organize it is that I want for each and every page, I want to have some base properties, such as the title of the page and the class. The class defines what kind of page it is, what type of page it is. And the class defines what properties, what class properties the page has. And those properties are stored then in a different slot, in the class props slot, as JSON, always as JSON. A very interesting additional slot is the data slot that contains data sets, and you can have data sets for just about anything. The main slot is usually wiki text, but you can convert that to JSON, which is very interesting when you have JSON on the page, because you don't have to change the content model, but if you make it JSON, then you get support, you get presentation. It looks nice, and when you edit the JSON, then you get warnings when you make mistakes. So that's very interesting. Now let's have a look at the same page that we looked at before, and focus on the data sets. Data sets, they are in the data slot. And like I said, you can have as many data sets there as you want. In this case, we have data sets that are added with dupes. I'm going to talk about dupes later, in the view section. But we have an AI assistant on the page. We have a planning dupe. We register the chairs registrations, and they all store their data in JSON on the page. So if you go back, here you can see the presentation. You can see the planning dupe in the middle, and on the right you see the chairs and the registration. These are just examples, as you can imagine, of what it looks like on the page. But the point is that the information is stored as JSON on the page itself. And this JSON is used extensively by view apps like the planning tube, like the contacts list and the registration list you saw on the page. And using a view on MediaWiki is excellent. It is really very nice. Yeah, you should know about Vue. It is the JavaScript framework of choice for MediaWiki. And yeah, when you read this, I took this from the MediaWiki page. Yeah, MediaWiki itself is also, the guys at MediaWiki are saying use Vue to create your user interface. And that works very well. We use Vue for our dupes. Well, what the hell is a dupe? We are looking at the same page now. And I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to zoom in on the planning dupe. Here, this is essentially a Vue app on the page. It is not, I'm going back again, it is not in the main content. So if you hit edit source, you don't see anything but the content because it's part of the subheader. So yeah, it's part of the subheader. So it's just in the subheader component, which means that it appears on every event page. The planning dupes, well, here we are talking about, when we talk about dupes, we are essentially talking about building Vue JavaScript apps with the Vue framework, which is fun, which is very nice. So I'm going to show you a few things about that and what can be done. So you have a collapsed mode that shows the planning, and when you check, it does things under the hood because it saves the data set. If you look at the expanded mode of the same dupe, so you click on the left top, the chevron thing and the name, then it expands and you get the edited mode. And here obviously you can edit the planning, save it, delete it. And you see on the right side, on the top right, you see three icons. For the first is save, the save button, then the delete button, and the most right icon is to link you to go to the schema. And that's where it gets interesting. It says that if configured, you can also link to the profile page. That's not correct. That's some autocorrect, I think, because it's the pre-fill page. You are also able to pre-fill the dupe with data. And that is very interesting because that means that you can say, well, why the hell would you want to delete this data? Deleting is actually interesting because if you delete it, then it's automatically refilled with the pre-fill date. So in practice, it means that you have templates for plannings, for the various types of plannings. You create those templates. They are just pages with the same dupe, so you can use the same planning dupe to create a template, link to that, and it uses that data. So what have we seen? What do we use Vue for? And what do we use JSON for? How do they interconnect? Well, we have a JSON schema, we have JSON data as a prefill, and the dupe always stores its data as JSON in the data slot. And so dupes are surrounded by JSON. The schema is very interesting because you actually define you define your forms, you define the data in your dupe. So but when you get to, let's say, ordinary forms that are created with Vue, you can just put about anything. You can create very intelligent forms by putting stuff in the schema. How about JSON and semantic MediaWiki? Because you want, obviously, you want to store. Well, I'll go back to this. Here you see a link between JSON. So that's typically JSON that is stored as a data set in the data slot. You can store that as in semantic MediaWiki, and that is interesting because that means that in your Vue app, you can do queries, you can search, and you can get your options, and that's also very options. A very simple example is that if you have a planning dupe like I showed, and you want to add the responsible, the person who is responsible, that would typically be someone that lives as a person in the wiki. So that means that you have to search for the so that's, well, there is one thing that I should say. Our policy is not to have a search in the field, because our experience is that really always you have fixed options. If you are on a project and you want to select a person that is responsible, that is typically someone who is was an employee of the organization, or it's so the actual list that you can choose from is always limited. So what we did is we decided to populate the options always beforehand. So there's never some autocomplete in a field. It's always a select. But obviously you need semantic MediaWiki to get the right options. So there is a clear connection between semantic MediaWiki and the JSON data, and a connection with the Vue app. At Juggel, well, why is it interesting to combine them? Lua can handle JSON very well and can create semantic MediaWiki properties or sub-objects based on that JSON. And for simple data, it's really just passing let's say the JSON, turn it into a Lua table and pass it to semantic MediaWiki. So there is no real logic involved there. You really just move JSON to semantic MediaWiki, and that works well. And with some additional logic, you can implement different save policies to store dataset data, because some data sets have more complex data. So when you look at the planning, we saw the due planning, you have phases and activities, and what you really want is to store the phases as sub-objects, but also the activities, so that you have them both. We have implemented different save policies, and one of them is I'm not sure what it's called, but that stores sub-objects for each level automatically. So that works very nice. Okay, the last one is Codex. Codex is very nice. Yeah, it's power and consistency. We use at Juggel mainly the Codex components, which are let's say the fields, the buttons, all that stuff. And you can use them in Vue or with CSS only. So I would strongly recommend, this is also very interesting, you should really have a look at Codex and use it. So I would recommend the talk of Eric tomorrow. Don't miss it. All right. So are there questions about the 4?
Iran?
What is the name of the software that you're talking about? Is it Juggel?
The name of the I really don't understand your question, Jeroen, because what I'm talking about is MediaWiki stuff. So the skinning, the view, and at Juggel. So that's all MediaWiki, and that's the point of the presentation, that you should use those MediaWiki treasures, and and at Juggel, we have some extensions for creating dupes and using AI assistants, but that's not the subject of this talk.
What extensions are you using?
Well, the extension that you saw things of, so the dupes, that's the dupe stands for Juggel cubes, and so these are those Vue apps that you can as a component can put you on your page, and that's the Juggel cubes extension. That is a Juggel extension that is not open source yet.
Any other questions?
Yeah, this is Eric. Thank you for the kind words about Codex and everything. I guess I'm curious, since you're using some of these new things, my team is working on them. Are there any, limitations or missing features that you came across that you think would be good for us to know about as we continue working?
For Codex specifically, or for any of the other 3, Vue and the slots?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
If you want, we can have a talk. We can organize a talk to talk about this. We can organize a call to talk about this, because I think I didn't expect this question, so I didn't prepare it, but I'm sure I can give you feedback for Codex.
Thank you for being early about it.
Awesome. Any other questions? All right.